welcome back to Plotting in Pyjamas. Today's book review is going to be on The Guests by Nikki Smith. So, as always, I will start with the blurb and then I'll tell you some of my thoughts. So, welcome to paradise, or so the staff say as they greet the Hamiltons on the pristine shores of the idyllic Maldives resort. And it starts off that way, snorkeling in the serene blue sea, champagne picnics on powder white sand and moonlit walks under the stars. But lies lurk beneath the luxury, because each of the guests has a secret, and they're not the only ones. Months later, a grisly discovery is made. What happened to the Hamiltons, and how did their once-in-a-lifetime trip turn into the holiday from hell? So from the blurb, you might have guessed it's another murder mystery, and it's based on an island. I seem to be doing a lot of these, reading a lot of these recently. Don't worry, this is probably going to be the last one for a while. I don't think I have any more set on islands in my TBR pile, but you never know. I just have such an affinity for the sea that it's bleeding over into my reading now. Okay, so I rated this book a 4-star. I would recommend it to others. There were a few bits I was like, but yeah, for the most part, I really enjoyed this one. I read it really quickly as well. I shot through this. But anyway, so the main characters are the Hamiltons, obviously. So that's Cara, Zach, and their daughter Alexa. So Cara is very much defined as like the mother, the wife. She used to be an air hostess, which is how she met Zach actually. But once she had Alexa, she decided to be stay at home. It could also be the fact that since she's had Alexa, she has got very claustrophobic, so doesn't seem to be actually able to fly without panicking anymore. That's actually quite a big part of her character, so I can relate to it, but she seems to have anxiety about everything. Like, the first chapter, you meet her and she is on the plane, on this small plane with her husband and her daughter, and she's panicking a bit. But then as the book progresses, she's got more and more that she worries about. So yeah, again, I can relate. So she was a very believable, well-written character. Actually, all of the characters in this were believable. You could understand motives, and I don't think there were any that I was like, oh, that's a really poorly written character. So then you have Zach. Now, he owns his own business. It's this eco-friendly company. He's had a few issues recently, but they all seem to be going all right. But there does seem to be something off with him. I don't know. For me, from the get-go, I was like, there's something wrong. There's something that doesn't sit right with him. But yeah, you'll learn what his secrets are as the book progresses. I'm not going to say them here. Their daughter Alexa is your typical teenager. She is addicted to her phone. The minute they arrive on this island, instead of being amazed by all the beauty around her or like wanting to go swimming, she wants to connect to the Wi-Fi so that she can talk to her friends from home. You do find out that there was an incident before they came away, which could be why Alexa's very interested in staying connected to those friends, because they've been helping her through a rough time. But at the same time, yeah, it does seem she is constantly addicted to her phone. So then you also have background characters, which again are quite well thought out. As the blurb suggests, every one of these characters has like a little secret or has something dodgy in their past or present that they're trying to hide. So you've got people like Sky, who is this influencer. Alexa knows her, she's this eco-influencer, rates businesses that are eco-friendly. She's had Zach on one of her podcasts, I think it is, talking about his business. She's very much, the staff have been told to give her all access, basically to treat her as celebrity status. What she wants, she gets. But she befriends Alexa for a little while, despite the fact that there's a bit of an age gap there. She seems nice enough. She's just very willing to do what she needs to for views. She doesn't mind if it's not the entire truth. Then you've got Devi. Devi, I think I'm saying it right. DVI. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's like a concierge. He's a staff member. He also does a fire display. He's like a fire eater. And that's a big part of the appeal of this island. They have regular displays at night that he runs, but he has a mobile phone that all the guests can contact him on, so he's available to them 24/7, which I can imagine gets a bit frustrating. And he does mention in the book that it is quite a frustrating thing to be available to guests 24/7. You can kind of tell he's a bit run down and isn't fully enjoying his job there anymore. And then you've got Mark, the guy who owns this resort. He is dodgy. You know from the get-go there's something there. At least I didn't. It might be that no one else can read that, but yeah, I knew from the minute, because he's talking about, oh, well, I said this for this person, so this is going to work. Oh, I know what you're like. I can say this and get my way. Like, he is very... He wants to put the best foot forward for this company, and he knows how to get what he wants. He knows how to manipulate people into saying yes, which is a scary kind of person. But yeah, so those are like... You've also got another couple in the book. One of them is like... The woman was an air hostess as well, a flight attendant. I keep calling them air hostesses. A flight attendant who worked with Kara. But Kara doesn't really remember her, and she feels a bit bad about it. But this flight attendant's husband is in the same space as Zach. They're kind of competitors. So Mark tries to one-up the other. So if he wants Zach to do something, he'll say, oh yeah, but this guy's doing it. And Zach's immediately like, right, okay, I'll do it. So yeah, you've got this other couple that are a bit more competitive, kind of less friendly-ish. They come across as friendly, but there's tension. So those are the characters, at least the ones that continually pop up and have quite a big part in this. So, as the blurb suggests, everyone's got a secret, and the secrets just keep piling up. So from the get-go, you know Zach's got a secret, and you know he's trying to hide it from his wife and his daughter. And the more I read, the more I knew what the secrets were, because originally I thought it was just one, but there are multiple that he's hiding from them. Some of them, yes, are very easy to guess. Others are a bit more different, bit unexpected. But yes, you kind of can tell what's going on. Kara, again, she doesn't seem to have secrets before she goes, but she does get a couple secrets when she gets there. So even she's got secrets. And Alexa, yeah, she leaves with a very big secret. Not as big as you're thinking, considering I said murder mystery. But yeah, Alexa ends up with secrets of her own, which, I mean, she's a teenager, so they're bound to have secrets. But yeah, funnily enough, it's not a secret she keeps from her parents. Anyway, but they're not the only ones with secrets. You've got secrets with the company, with the resort. Everyone has a secret. They are all trying to hide from each other, everyone else around them. And it can get a bit convoluted with everyone lying to each other. But that's part of the appeal of murder mysteries. No one's telling the truth. But yeah, you've got a bit of everything here. You've got the money, so I'm fairly sure pretty much everyone you're introduced to that isn't a staff member at this resort is rich. Yeah, there's no way around it. They are all rich and they're all putting on a front to portray themselves as better than anyone else. It seems to be a very competitive area, shall we say. But yeah, another main theme in this book is adultery. For me, I'm quite loyal, so that's always been a bit of a sticking point for me. So reading about pretty much a lot of people are having affairs in this, and that, yeah, no, that's something that I'm not keen on, but the way it's written is believable. I mean, one of the affairs is really cliche, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but when you read it, if you read it, you'll get to that part and you'll be like, oh yeah, I see what she means. But yeah, they're written well. It's just one's cliche, one isn't so much an affair, but it's still adultery. And everyone. Then you also have the theme of like family bonds, and for me that's always been a big one. I like studying the relationships between characters. I enjoy doing that in my own writing. I enjoy seeing it in other people's. I just find it really interesting to play about with relationships between the characters and explore sides that may not be explored normally. I like the concept of found family. This one's actually got family, so it's not found family, but you get what I mean. In this book, it does focus quite heavily on family bonds because your main focus is the Hamilton family. So you've got these three characters. You've got Cara and Zach, who are married. They supposedly love each other, but they've drifted apart a bit. And by a bit, I mean there's like a massive chasm between them. They can't seem to get on the same page at all throughout the book. That was not an intended pun, but they do appear on the same page. Yeah, so they don't seem to see eye to eye at all throughout the book. They're constantly thinking about other things, their minds elsewhere, or like he's thinking, oh, I've got to stop her from learning this, or she's thinking, oh, I need to keep this from him. And it's just, there's another reason why I'm so loyal. Like, the amount of effort that goes into lying to your partner, what's the point? But so you've got the relationship between them, and then you've got the father-daughter relationship between Zach and Alexa, and that's slightly strained, but it's nowhere near as strained as the relationship between Cara and Alexa, who apparently, from Cara's point of view, used to be really close. She misses having that tight bond with her and Alexa. But Zach seems to be the one Alexa's drawn to a bit more after this tragedy that happened before they left. And Zach keeps telling Cara, like, oh, take it, give it a bit, she'll come round, she always does, blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the book, she does come round. But at the end, the main bond between the three of them that I find quite fascinating is the mother-child bond. So it's that play on how far will a mother go or a parent go to protect their child. What would they do to protect their child? And I think that's a really interesting concept. Like, what would you do if you had a child and they needed your help? Like, how far would you go? It doesn't necessarily mean that Kara does go far, but I quite like the concept of exploring things like that. That's possibly part of why I voted, why I rated this book 4 stars. I just liked the interpersonal relationships. Even between the 3 of them and the minor characters, the relationships were pretty well thought out. So like I said, you've got Alexa and Skye strike up this friendship. Skye initially sees it as this way to get closer to the Hamiltons, to learn more about Zach and his businesses, see if there's anything dodgy there that she can use for her channel. But eventually Alexa basically idolizes her from the get-go. At the start she's a bit less, but then as they get closer, Skye's more and more Alexa's idol. The fact that she's taking time to talk with her, to do things with her, Alexa really likes this girl. And they strike up a bit of a friendship. And I quite liked seeing that as well, seeing how it could be one-sided. And yeah, it's interesting to see the different levels of relationships forming between different characters, because you're on holiday, you know it's possibly not going to last, but at the same time it's interesting seeing how you go from being to not knowing each other to being kind of acquaintances to then developing an okay, this might actually lead to friendship after we leave. We don't know. But yeah, I definitely recommend The Guests. Another cool thing, or at least I find it cool, Nikki Smith has actually written a couple other books. I think one of the ones I've read of hers is The Beach Party, and she has her characters actually reading her other books in here. I thought that was just a pretty cool little concept. She mentions one of the characters reading The Beach Party, and I was like, I know that book, I've read it. But yeah, that's a little funny thing that she's inserted, and I just thought that was great. Other people may not find it as interesting, but yeah. So I'd recommend The Guests. I quite like Nikki Smith's style of writing. I think it's a really good one, but you'll have to read and find out more yourselves. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read it. Look at the pretty cover. It reminds me a bit of when we went to Bali. Just the ocean and the colours that are used. It's so pretty. So go and get a copy. Let me know what you think. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Okay. See you later. Bye.